Perfecto. Onward to the next question.
All right, next question is this is an anon question. Are you and Cass going to do more interviews? Have you thought about interviewing anyone else? Yes, as we have said, this is a series now, friends. We're going to go on as long as we want to. You can listen or not.
Yes, because I will listen to them at least.
Yeah, we can do more interviews. Oh, you know what? Linguini17 sent me an idea for some ways that we can do our interview questions, Toad, by the way. It was,
Ooh,
I can't bring it up now, but it was like a way that like BBC does some of their interviews,
I dig it.
some of their interview structure, which I think is really cool. Listen, I know that I am down to interview other people. If you are too, Toad,
I'm down.
yeah. So listen, if anyone who listens to us knows us well, would like, to be interviewed, you let us know. We will also make our own inquiries. Don't think if we haven't asked you that we're not interested. It's just, we get busy and
And I'm
sidetracked.
shy.
And poor Toad is shy. He'll probably get a message from me.
Probably.
It's so funny. I feel like this gives the wrong impression of me in real life. Like, I can be very shy in real life, you guys. I really can. Um, but written communication is some of my best communication, so I tend to be it tends to come to me a little
Oh,
bit easier. So yes, we're gonna do more interviews. We are totally game to interviewing other people. Actually, I'll tell you what. Who would you like us to interview? And we can inquire as to whether or not, they'll be game for an interview. Um, Also, anyone we ask, please feel free to say no. We get it. Some people are only comfortable with oh so much in terms of um, what fandom knows about them, how they know them, everything else, and all of that is completely valid. Um, so if you say no to us, we will not be offended. Um, so yeah, but
very
yeah,
true.
they'll tell us who you want us to interview, and we'll let you know if they're game for it.
Ah,
Also, if anybody is, I don't know what just happened. Are you okay?
sorry.
She's drawing, so things are happening. Um, Also, we are available to interview in different ways. So if you don't want anyone to know what your voice sounds like, but you're still game for us to interview you, I'm totally fine um, with us sending you questions, you sending us responses, and I will read them. Um, that also works. That way, But also, we want to talk to other people too. So if you're game for being talked with, you let us know. So yeah. All right. Next question is, how do you measure success as an artist and a writer? Is it the notes you get, feedback, or your own satisfaction? How
Okay,
do you
I'll go
measure
first on
success,
this one.
Toad? Please do. I want to know.
Feedback, 110%. I could
Mhm.
care less if I have like 1,000 notes. If I have like at least like two good reactions from a piece, then I've done good. That's all it does. Like that's all I need.
That's so sweet. Um,
Ah,
it's a mixture of things. Feedback is my favorite thing. It's um I so enjoy comments. Feedback given in the following ways. I love comments on my fics. I love tags on reblogs of my fics.
oh, love
I love
tags.
people screaming in my inbox in my fic about my fics. Um, I'm if you want to write a fic in response, if you draw a thing, now those are like next level. But like, you know what I mean? Like those are all the ways I measure success. I think I used to be. Now, okay, this isn't to say I do pay attention to notes. I do pay attention to kudos. Um, but I have learned to put the most value in feedback. So for me, the most commented on fic is always the one I usually tend to get the most from, um, as opposed to like the most kudos or the most like has the most hits, the most reblogs or whatever. But um, I feedback is the I swear there's another word other than meter, other than gauge that I'm looking for, and I can't think of what it is. Like y'all, I'm so great at words. um, yeah. I feel like I want to say thermostat, but I don't think that's the word. I think there's a different word, like a better word, but I can't think of what the better word is. Um, so yeah, I still listen, and here's the other thing. I still get definitely sometimes I will read something that it doesn't happen as much in this fandom as it's happened in other fandoms. But it has, I will fully disclose it has happened before. Not much of recently though. Where people will go crazy over something. Go crazy, it's horrible terminology, sorry. People will really, really love something and give a lot of feedback to something and really praise something. And I'll sit there and go, what? Why? I don't understand. And then I'll get sad because some of those people will have like never commented on something that I've written or that I've done, and I'm like, am I that bad? Have I been that bad the whole time and I didn't know? Or like I'm like, do I not know how to judge like what people might like to read about or might not? So yeah, I do a lot of comparative things. Well, not as much as I used to, but it does happen. I tend to compare myself.
I used to do that. Like a really long time ago, I'd be like, this drawing got 5 less notes than the last. What's
Yeah,
the
that'll happen to me with
problem?
my own work too. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, that'll happen with my own work too. I'll be like, why did everyone like this one and not this one? And a lot of times it happens because I remember some of your tags, Toad, and I remember being like, I've been like that with my writing sometimes. Sometimes it'll have taken me a month to write something, or 2 months, or 3 months, or 4 months. Um, well, maybe not that long. Those are usually long fics, but it'll take me a month to write something, and it'll get not as much attention as something I wrote in an afternoon. And I'll be like, wait, how did something I took the most time on and put the most effort in and did the most like editing for get less attention and less notes than the thing that took me an afternoon? uh, so I do that sometimes too.
I've
Not
come to
as much
terms with
anymore
it.
though. Much. It does like I've just learned to accept it. Um,
Be like, I'll take what I can get.
um, so yeah, I think also another way that I gauge success is when is in the type of feedback that I get. Because sometimes I'll just get like, oh, good job, oh, this. And then sometimes my favorite feedback to get, like where I think I've really like made it and made an impression and really just like done the best is when I get either one or two things said. One, that people can really see it. It feels very in character. It feels like, it healed something in canon or healed something they felt they needed to see, or it brought about something they didn't even know they needed, or when somebody tells me they feel seen, um, and that they just really connect. So I judge my success by that too.
I also like it when I make people cry.
Yes.
That sounds awful, but it's just like if I know someone's cried, I'm like, yes, I did good.
Well, I think it's really a gauge of have you moved someone. I
Yes.
like moving people to emotion.
Also, like caps. Like when someone's like so excited they
Well,
can only use caps.
give me all your caps lock friends.
I'm just like, yes, I did good.
Love it. Okay. Um, we have another anon, although I will say that I highly suspect I know where this anon is from. So in all caps it says free Agatha cackle or
Yeah.
face consequences of your actions. I think that the Agatha cackle blog name synthesis,
I
which we
think
love,
so.
by the way. Get our key. Just real question though. What keeps the both of you driven and ready to go on your endeavors?
Um, that's a bit of a toughie.
Sometimes it's each other. I will say that,
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
right?
Sometimes it is.
Sometimes it's just like I know that this happens to us both. We'll have an idea and we'll be like, I mean, I don't know if I should do it, but I don't know if I should. And the other one will be like, please do this for me. Do this service.
I'd be like, oh, okay, I guess.
And we'll be like, okay, all right. I guess it was a better idea than I thought.
Oh,
Um,
that's me like always.
uh, I think there are definitely other people in the fandom that I talk to a lot that keep me driven and invested. Invested is probably a better word than driven. My drive is really dependent on like spoons and time. Uh, and oh, it's very helpful to have a new season and new material.
Oh,
That
true.
that definitely helps output. Um, I don't know that I'm ever like fully ready to go on like everything. Like some things definitely, but some things I'm very scared to do, very scared to post, and so I just sort of get to a point where I'm like, okay, this feels done. Give it to someone else to read. They're like, okay, good, and I post it, and then hide in a corner and hope for the best. Um, but yeah, that's that's that on that. It's my catchphrase. I should come up with a better catchphrase. All right, Heath Trash asks for both of us. Uh, well, first of all, he thought this was too late. Haha, no, it's not. Um, are there any?
You should honestly never worry about that because
Yeah,
it could
y'all
always go
never
into another video.
exactly. We will always stick it somewhere else. Um, but are there any women loving women movies you would use as inspiration for the AU fic slash art? I know that y'all. I just saw Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Um, And afterwards, I sent Toad a message and I was like, I just saw Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Now I need them both in corsets, and I need Hecate as an artist, and I need her painting Ada all the time. Um, and sometimes it'd be like that for me, but especially with Hackle, especially now, like in my life, like I literally get inspiration from almost everywhere. Like my wife and I watch a really trash reality TV show called Married at First Sight, which provides a lot of like marriage therapy for us because we're like, at least we are not ridiculous like heteros trying to get married on national television by experts, reality TV. But anyway, um,
Oh boy.
uh, but I had an idea. I'm watching it right, and I had an idea where like um, Haggerty is like a camera person and Ada's like a one of the experts. All right, so the format of the show, everybody is there is like a group of experts that match the people together that they eventually like put on the show. And one of them actually, I realized this is also what happened to me. So in the latest season, I was like, oh my god, Dr. Pepper looks. This woman is seriously named Pepper. They all call her Dr. Pepper. She is a sociologist, and I swear, y'all, she is the American version of Ada Cackle. She's like short with like really cute hair, and she's really adorable, and she just like believes in all the couples, and like, so I was just thinking, what if Ada like worked on one of these shows because she just loves love and romance. And what if Hecate though was like a camera person and she's like, this is just a gig and this is dumb and I can't believe people do this. I'm like, what if this is how they met? So I haven't that like there's an AU idea, but I think most of my but see once again that has no well, as far as I know, maybe they're on the crew and I never seen them, but like there are no queer couples matched um, on that show, and other than Portrait of a Lady on Fire, I will say the majority of my favorite And I don't know about you, Toad, but like the majority of my favorite movies, of which there are not many, I tend to
Yeah.
hate a lot of them because, to be honest, y'all, a lot of them are trash. A lot of them are fucking
Yeah, I
trash.
was
Okay,
literally gonna
we're
say
all
that.
like, we're all like, we just all we want is like two women kissing. We don't care how it happens. Or like maybe they stare longingly at each other. Like some of their classics that I adore that maybe I would write fic for, like Fried Green Tomatoes. Which, if y'all have never read the book is explicitly queer. It's very explicit about the fact that Ruth and Iggy are in a relationship. They consider themselves married. They consider Ruth's son their son. Um, in the movie, the actresses who play them were super up for playing the relationship as is in the book. But I think it's the director that wasn't okay with it. Also, it was the early '90s. Like nobody was okay with it, unless someone was gonna like Well, I guess that does happen in that movie. But anyway, nobody was okay with it. So I really like that. But that would be more that more gets on hinges on me liking historical things rather than necessarily anything super about that movie. Um, and then some of my other favorite movies are just like wouldn't work uh, as ideas. I'm more likely to take a very popular um, like rom com or book or uh, movie that has um, a man and a woman in it and use it as AU material. Just because it's like my lifelong quest to just make everything but with lesbians. Like I will rewrite like all of Jane Austen for Hackle. It's how I feel about it. Except that I feel like Hecate and Ada are in different books. I feel like Ada is very much like Eleanor Dashwood, and Hecate is very much like Mr. Darcy, and that's Sense and Sensibility and Pride and Prejudice, respectively. Um, so I don't know how well that would work. I'd probably just use the same like rules of Austen, not necessarily a one story, but yeah, my inspiration is more likely to come with something that originally was done with a man and a woman, and or like some other variation thereof, and not usually like also y'all, and please nobody hate me for this. I don't like Carol very much. And I tried. I did. I've seen the movie a couple of times. I saw it in the theater with some really lovely old people because my wife and I like to go to matinees because they're cheaper. And so it's usually just us and a whole bunch of old people in the theater. Um, in fact, I loved that like Harold the lesbian meme because I was like, I feel like I went to see Carol with Harold as well, but and his wife. But I tried. It's just not my fave. And I find this happens to me a lot. And it might be because a lot of what we hold as like the best, like women loving women movies tend to have just white ladies in it. And I'm not a white lady. Anyways, sorry, that was a commentary you did not ask for, Heath.
I'm here for it.
But anyways, other than seeing Portrait of the Lady on Fire and being like, Toad, we should draw them in corsets. That's not even. I don't even want to retell the movie though. Like that's the thing. Like I don't want to. Even though that movie was really good, and I do suggest any of you, if you have the opportunity to see it, you see it. But I don't tend to have the want to retell the stories that are often quote unquote told for us with my OTP because they don't, for the most part, tend to be stories I necessarily like very much. As I said, a lot of them are trash. Um, or like they're so. I think maybe I recently saw Desert Hearts, which is like known for being one of the first, um, or maybe it was the first lesbian movie to have a happy ending. Movie, by the way, The Price of Salt, um, I believe was the first novel, which is what Carol's based on. But the first movie is Desert Hearts, which is from 1984. Um, and it's good. It's a good movie, but once again, I don't know that I reread it as an AU. I just a lot of it just doesn't have because a lot of our movies are made about young people, like really young people. Um, and I'm not game to write high school AUs. They already work at a school. For me, I've just gotten to that point in my life where teacher AUs are much more important to me than high school AUs. So I'm like, if I ever write a high school AU, it's that two people are high school teachers and like they're already teachers.
Heck
Canon.
yeah.
So like
I
that's already
love
made.
it.
But yeah, I don't think that there are any I would use. I'd use the aesthetic of Portrait of a Lady on Fire. That's what I can say. Now,
Aesthetic.
if you want to talk things that are not women loving women movies, like literally yesterday I sent Toad a gift set from The Sound of Music because I have a Sound of Music AU that I've been thinking of for quite some time for Hackle. Also, Ada would look adorable in Maria's blue dress.
She look adorable and everything.
She would. But when they dance what's the name of that dance? The Lindelier? I don't know, y'all. I'm real bad at. Uh, is it a German word? I don't know. But yeah, the one she wears in that scene. Y'all know what I'm talking about. If you love The Sound of Music, and if not, you hit me up in the message. I'll let you know which one I'm talking about. But Ada would look real cute in that. That's one of my favorite movies, y'all. The Sound of Music. Um, but yeah, I'm much more likely to pick a movie that this was explicitly about movies. I'm much more likely to pick a movie that was straight or straightish to use as inspiration. But I'll let you answer now, Toad, because I've talked for way too long.
I kind of like agree with everything you said. I mean, I might take a moment, like a soft
Mm-hmm.
moment, because I'm more about a moment instead of like an entire like story. Because
That
like
makes sense.
I'm more like I pick one scene and I obsess over that scene.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, a lot of them are really, really bad. And it's just
Mm-hmm.
like, I want to like them, but then you watch them and they're awful. And it's like, was any of this worth it? It really wasn't. I'm not a fan.
Also, can I please say, y'all,
Ah,
Carol is not an awful movie. It's a very beautiful movie. It just was not for me. Just so you know. I just feel like a lot of people are gonna hate me because I remember how much a lot of people love that movie, and I'm just like I sincerely went to the theater thinking I was gonna be changed. Like I thought I was gonna forever be changed, and I love Kate Blanchett. And I sat and I was like, oh, no, this doesn't speak to me like I thought it would. The book didn't either. I was not a fan of the book either. Uh, but I did my research, friends, to form that opinion. And for
oh,
everyone for whom that was how they reacted to that movie, I'm glad that it exists for you. Because it does exist for you, just not for me.
yeah, it is nice. It's a nice movie. I'm not like a super huge fan of it.
Hmm.
I've only watched it once. I've only cared to watch it once, which sounds kind of bad, but yeah, it's good. If you like that. If you don't, you
Right.
know, good for you.
Exactly. Um, yeah, so I'm much more likely to take straight ones. I feel like there's also for me, and I don't know how it is for anybody else, but for me, there's such cool ownership in taking something that was straight and making
Yes.
it,
Hmm.
you know,
I
with
agree.
lesbians or queer women in general or queer aligned folks, um, or queer folks. And I don't know, that's where I get
Oh.
a lot of my inspiration from. I will say this, when I first started writing Let Me Hand You My Love, I got the idea from a movie that Barbara Streisand was in the 90s, y'all. That I think she even directed, called The Mirror Has Two Faces. It was based on a French film or a French novel, a French film. But then I realized upon rewatch of that movie, and that was one of my favorite movies for like the longest time. I realized on rewatch of that movie that it's a bit aphobic. And so I was like, I don't want to write something that's like aphobic. And so while that was like part of my inspiration, that's not how it ended up at the end. Um, That movie's got a great soundtrack, but once again, it doesn't age well on in terms of like the ace community. Uh, so yeah. Oh, also the the movie or the fic I did with the modern AU that I did was based on a movie called Something New, which is such a cute movie, and actually has an interracial couple in it. Um, but I literally just took the premise of Hecate is a gardener and Ada needs someone to landscape a garden. Like, that's really the biggest aspect I took of that movie. Nothing else about the story resembled it. So, which I guess goes into what you were saying, Toad. I probably also just take elements and like parts and not the whole thing. I don't think I've ever rewritten something that was like the whole thing. Oh, I wrote a Cardinelli like Dirty Dancing AU. That was mostly the whole thing.
Oh, la la.
Yeah, listen, I people liked it, but it was not. Now I look at it and I'm like, oh, there were so many things wrong with this. But me rewriting one of my favorite scenes and what was one of the most romantic scenes to me, like since I was like 10, I saw that movie like much sooner than I should have. Um, there's that scene where Johnny and Baby are in Johnny's cabin and she gives him this whole speech about how like she's afraid of everything. She's afraid of her father. She's afraid of what's happened because she's just witnessed somebody recovering from a botched abortion. Um, and she says, but most of all, I'm so afraid of walking out that door and never feeling again my whole life the way I feel when I'm with you. And I wanted how I feel about that scene to be rewritten in this fic, and I feel like I did that pretty well. That's about like the only thing I feel I did pretty well in that fic. So.
That's cute.
Which is
Also,
awesome.
is that just a movie that like everyone seen at a like a young age, and then it's just like, why did I watch that at such a young age?
Um, probably. I remember. I very remember. I remember very distinctly when I saw that movie. Also, spoiler alert, friends.
Huh.
That movie was made the year I was born, and it was my favorite movie from the time I was like 12, which also way too young to. From the time I was 12 to like 22, and like to this day still remains like a movie that's just like very special to me. Um, and so yeah, no, I saw it in the break room of where my mom was working in a lab. Like I had to be in the break room for a while. I can't even remember like why I couldn't be in the lab or in her office because I grew up being in the lab in her office all the time. But I was in the break room and it was on TV and I was watching it and I had this sense because this I feel like this also happens to a lot of people. I don't think a whole lot of people start in the beginning of that movie. I feel like everyone happens upon the scene where she sees the Dirty Dancing for the first time. And we're all
Yeah.
like, ooh, this feels like something I probably should not be watching. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, right. So, um, uh, so yeah, no, I don't know. Y'all tell us if that's also a movie that everyone's salty me on. Because
Oh
that would be
boy.
fun. That's a fun, like, poll to take. Did anyone else see Dirty Dancing way too young?
I know I did.
Also, Ballin' soundtrack, y'all. It's still one of the best soundtracks ever.
Actually,
There
on the
is,
CD. I have the CD.
there's, there's a series
Oh
on
boy.
Netflix called The Movies That Made Us, and one of them is Dirty Dancing, and they tell you the whole backstory of like the making of Dirty Dancing. And like, spoiler alert, one of my favorite things is that they couldn't. It was like they didn't have a major studio to either shoot it or to edit it. I think it was edit it, and they had to use like people who did porn. Oh no, this is what it was. They didn't have somebody who would release the movie, and people who had done like porn VHSs are the ones that did it.
Perfect.
And it just like remains to this day like one of my favorites. See, like ever since I watched that, I'm just like that is hilarious to me. Um, so So yeah. Okay. Let's see. Um, we have one more question, and then we're actually done with questions for uh,
Oh,
this hackle lot. In which case, we can just have spoilers and freak out while you draw the other picture if you want.
heck yes!
Um, okay, so Anon asks, any tips for avoiding fandom burnout? And I would say, I mean, like, I have some tips for how to try and prevent yourself from burning out creatively. But I will also say burnout is real and it's fine and it happens. And it happened to me last year. So, which some of you might be like, but cats, you still posted some fic last year. And to which I would say I did, but a lot less than I was used to. And there were definitely like loads of time between when I would post things. And there was reasons for that. So, um, sorry. Um, but so these are Cass's like 101s to avoid fandom burnout. One of them is this is my advice to everybody when it comes to fandom in general. And this can be very hard, especially when you are shy or when it's hard for you to like talk to other people for any reason. But you do have, it's very important to find like-minded people in your fandom and create a little bubble for yourself. Because a lot of times when it comes to like full, oh, look at the cute little clouds, full fandom opinion, like it will really, like people get mob mentality like so soon and it will really ruin how much you enjoy something. Especially in like a culture of like everything has to be unproblematic and you have to call everything out. And I'll be real honest with you, I think there's a lot of value in calling things out. I think there's a lot of value in talking about how for so long so much of what we consider great literature, great media, great everything has been very Eurocentric or US centric. It's been very white. It's been very um, heterosexual, patriarchal, all of that. Like, there's value in all of that. But also, like, sometimes you're just trying to have a good time. And, like, you're not trying to, like, wage a war and, like, everything. And sometimes you're an adult who knows how to critically take in media and love it at the same time and have a good time. And fandom will not treat you like that. It will not treat you like you're an adult, free to have your own opinions or like free to like love whatever you love for as long as you want to love it. Um, but if you create yourself a little small, good space, like I always call it the corner of your fandom sandbox, it will help you when the rest of fandom feels like it's gone just like out the window with everything it's thinking and doing. So that's my piece of advice all the time. Um, a two is know your fandom cycles. So every fandom has a cycle, and I think a lot of fandoms tend to run with about the same cycle in that there's a lot of engagement during a new season, or even like sometimes if you've been in a fandom for like decades, when it's announced that there's a new series or new movie or whatever, there's always a lot of engagement during that time, and then right after something ends. Those are usually the highest points in fandom. And then there's a little spike sometimes right before something begins. And so if you go in knowing that, then you could be like, okay, the highest time for other people, like if you create content, the highest time for other people to see my work are these times. So if it at all, like if it works out with your schedule to produce during those times, that's always good. Um, but also if you're just somebody who likes to talk about things, it's like, okay, well, that's when that happens. Hopefully I can carve out some time when that happens and that's how it goes. And So yeah, so like try to learn your fandom cycles and then like give yourself a freaking break. Like it doesn't mean anything less about how much you love something if you're not creating as much content, if you don't have as much involvement, if you don't have as much like whatever, because we all have lives. Like we're all real people with responsibilities and everything else that take up time. And like fandom, it's a great escape. It's a great thing to love. It's a great hobby, but you are not any less if it's not your main priority at any time. Uh, and then I think allow yourself to lose inspiration if it happens. It can be devastating, I know, uh, but you can come back so much more than you think you can. So that's what I have to say on that.
Well, let me just jot that down. I'm really bad at not doing that.
Well, it can be hard because the thing is like when you feel like you're in a flow, when you feel it feels like at some point it's like okay, this is gonna run out. So while this is flowing, I should do as much as possible. Um, but and like and if you do that, that's fine. It's not. Also, don't judge yourself if that's how you go about things. God knows when I have like things flowing, I want to produce as much as possible too. But it's also knowing like okay, but I can't be doing it to the point where like I'm running myself ragged, because that's where the burnout happens a lot of times. But also life creates burnout
That's
too. So
true.
this is so freaking cute. I'm just freaking out over it. This is adorable. Um, so yeah. You have any other tips, Toad?
Ew. Um, do I have any tips? No. I feel like a bubble is always a good idea.
Mm.
I stayed in a hackle bubble for about 2 years, and it was great. um, for burnout, I don't know. Maybe sometimes I do have to take a step away because I am too emotionally invested in characters. So then I have to like focus on something else for a few days at least.
Mm.
Take a break, change
Sometimes
your
I
wallpaper.
yeah, sometimes I can change like fandoms. Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes I can. And so going to write a different OTP, going to write some original stuff, that'll help sometimes.
That's true. Or like just I don't know. A lot of the time, like I draw a lot of hackle art. I think everyone knows that because I have
Shut.
about like
Shut.
200, maybe some whips, but whatever. But I work on older stuff sometimes,
Mm,
or I work on a new OTP. That's for a different video.
that is for a different video.
But yeah, I say take a break. Taking a break is good from fandom in general, or
Mhm.
making a bubble where you have like a certain amount or a certain amount of people in a group that are chill and not
Mhm.
excessive.
Mhm.
I say that as if I was not excessive today.
But I think it's perfectly logical to freak out after a really cute episode, which is what
True.
happened recently.
That's what I did. Whoops.
But oh look, that should have a little curve. There we go. Um, Also, we all know that Ada is your absolute fave. She's also my absolute fave, and so I think no one was surprised.
That's true. That's a good point.
Anything else?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. I think you're done too, right?
Ah, perfect. That means we can go to the next
It looks done.
episode.
Sweet. All right. Well, we're gonna sign off.
Yes, goodbye. See you
Thank you,
later.
everyone. We love you
Adios.
all.
Yeah, we do love you.
We truly do. So feel free to send us any more questions, any more suggestions for what you'd like to see, all that kind of stuff.
Send it all.
Send it all to
Woohoo.
either one of us.